Welcome to Mid-State Money Talk. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Kevin and Joe Deitrich. They're partners at First Choice Financial Services Incorporated. And to our viewers at home, do you often ask yourself, do women face specific needs in retirement that men don't? And if you are a woman in the viewing audience today, are you prepared for your retirement? If you're a gentleman, do not turn the channel, because obviously you know someone in your life that's female, whether it be your mother, your sister, your aunt, someone that you need is going to need this guidance today. So this is all about women in retirement and the unique challenges that we face and why. Joe, how are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm blessed.
I am blessed as well. So good to see you. Kevin, how are you?
I'm blessed and highly favored.
I feel that way as well.
Good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
Good to be here.
Today's show is so important and so impactful when you think about it. Women in retirement. And so for so long, sometimes women had the role where they just weren't involved in planning for whatever reason. So right out of the gate, I should ask you, Joe, why is it that women face unique challenges in retirement versus men?
Yeah, women are unique, right? They're not men, and there's some fundamental differences, like you're going to probably live longer than men. Right? You're going to have a longer lifetime. So, you know, we think about things like the 4% rule or just general financial statistics, you know, and we think, well, we're going to plan for a 20-year retirement. Well, people are living longer. Now we got to plan for a 30-year retirement, you know, and people keep living longer. And the women in our lives, they're going to live the longest. So the planning horizon is a really big deal, making sure that we don't run out of money, long-term care concerns, healthcare costs, all of these things, they don't go away. They just keep going on up. Inflation is an equal opportunity offender, right?
That's true.
So yeah, that's very unique. They also have some unique challenges in that they're most likely to have interruptions in their employment. Staying home, watching the children, or an aging parent, they might be stepping back. They're more likely to make adjustments to their working life for their family around them. So they're going to have less lifetime income, and presumably in the same regard, less lifetime savings.
It makes sense because women are more than likely most often the caretaker, if you will. Like you mentioned, Joe, obviously you're raising children, you're caring for your family, but then also you get stuck in the sandwich generation, like you mentioned, caring for elderly parents, aging parents. And so a lot of times women can fall behind a little bit. Kevin, have you found that to be the case with a lot of women that are coming in for the first time, that perhaps they're just missing some of their earnings, if you will, because they've been taking care of others?
Well, absolutely. We see that all the time, is that you mentioned it, the sandwich generation, that they're taking their kids, then they maybe go out in the workforce for a while, then they got to take care of their parents. And so it just gives some difficulty to their planning, and it is unique. So yeah, we just can't assume that things are going to be equal with them as they are as a couple, or even as for the men. And
you know, something else I found recently really started to notice is that so more than half of our clients are females. You know, some are married, some are single, but so we're seeing all of the situations. The ladies in our life are actually more likely to be helping raise the kids, maybe the parents, but also the adult kids. They're going to be in their lives and involved a little bit longer, maybe some financial support. Maybe, hey, mom, can you help me out with this, that? You know, they're more likely to have that open heart and pocketbook to help others.
That's true.
And that can sometimes at their own detriment.
That is true.
Yeah.
So what are some common misconceptions that women have about planning for retirement, Kevin, or even some mistakes that you've seen when it comes to women planning for retirement?
Yeah, I think generally speaking, just don't assume things.
Okay.
Be proactive on your own. They sometimes assume that the plan that their spouse put together, they're just going to carry with them. But what about if the loss of a spouse or a divorce? You know, what if the husband says, you know what, I'm done. I'm filing for a divorce. Well, now the woman has been relying on the husband's plan, so to speak, all these years, and she has now to come up with her new plan. So she should be very involved in the planning process. Even if they're married, very involved in the planning process, so she knows what's going to happen and how it might affect her if he passes away, and that she's going to be taking care of herself.
And likewise, those that are married and be thinking about this, that how are we providing as a family for both husband and wife, regardless of what happens.
Okay.
Yeah. And the
And
children
what about
and the grandchildren and all that stuff, you know.
Yep.
all that stuff?
Underestimating how inflation will affect long-term savings is another concern that they have, or the things they overlook, misconception. The cost of living could easily double 2 or 3 times for women in retirement.
That's scary because women live longer, so you have to
Correct.
plan for longer. And inflation, longevity risk together, that can be a double whammy.
Absolutely.
So, Joe, I should also ask you, how can starting financial planning early be beneficial for women overall?
Yeah, absolutely. So time is our most precious commodity, and the earlier that we start to saving early, saving as much as we can, those are going to help put us in a position to have flexibility, to be able to address inflation, to keep up with inflation, address longevity risk, that sort of thing.
Okay. So I have to ask you a question. Obviously, you mentioned that over 55% of your client base right now, currently women, are they single, married, or how do they find you? I'm just curious overall, because I know you do workshops through the area. So how many women are coming in for the very first time that are single, on their own, widowed, divorced?
Yeah, I think we're seeing more and more people that are coming in, ladies that are coming in on their own, that they're not married, they're either divorced, widowed, or never were married. And more and more women are in the workforce. They're reaching those retirement ages. Pensions have gone away. You know, so we're seeing a unique challenge as to have we funded our 401ks appropriately? Do we have enough to retire? Do we need to maybe delay retirement or take a part-time job or look at an alternative plan to be able to make sure we can guarantee long-term success?
Joe, thank you so much. Kevin, do you find overall that women are just looking for information about retirement planning? Because we both know that knowledge is power.
Yeah, I think everything Joe just mentioned, the reason why some of the folks are coming, some of the women are coming to our workshops and then coming into doing business is because they're being more proactive. Like we're trying to recommend they do to our audience, but they're being more proactive in taking on their own plan, so to speak, and being involved in their own planning. And so they're also trying to educate themselves because, you know, it is an equal partnership, a marriage. And so for many, many years, I mean, it was always the husband and the wife, and it shouldn't be that way, but that's the way it has been.
Right.
And so I think it needs to be more of an equal partnership. The wife needs to know what's going on. She needs to be involved in it, very outspoken about it, because it will affect her down the road. And from our side of the table, as the financial advisor side of the table, we are planning that proactively, that she may be the one left.
Yes.
At the end of the life.
I'm going to put you both in the hot seat for just a second.
Sure.
So what happens if you have someone who calls in today, they want to book a consultation, but they say, I handle the finances, my wife doesn't need to be at the meeting.
Yes.
What do you say? Do you hear that a lot? Because that seems to be, I think, pretty common.
Yeah, absolutely. Or we'll set a time to sit down and the missus does not show up, and that's a grave mistake. We're always encouraging, say, great, we're going to get through here. We're going to start learning a little bit about you, your goals, your dreams, but it's imperative that your spouse show up next time. We need to know her. We need to understand her input, her goals, her dreams. But also she needs to understand what all of this is going on, that she's comfortable and that it's going to take care of her. Because in those situations, the person that's handling all of the things and they're maybe passing away, well, what happens? The other person's completely lost, and that's not acceptable to us.
Let me give
That
you an
happened to a friend
example.
of mine.
Let me give you an example. Pardon me, I interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
That we had a prospect come to our workshop and then come and meet with me. The first appointment, it was him and his wife signed up. He came by himself. So I encouraged him, next time she needs to be here. And he's okay. So we did the planning, and he came the second time and she wasn't there.
What?
Okay. And I said, why isn't your wife here? Well, she doesn't need to be here. I told her she doesn't need to be here. And so this example shows you in the audience at home how important we take this. I said, I closed the packet. I said, I don't think we're going to be a good fit for you.
Wow, Kevin, good for you.
Because that is very important. Because statistics show that he will pass away and she will be there and we have to take care of her. If she has no idea what the plan is, she's in the dark.
You're exactly right.
and she had no no part in part of that plan either. That's not right.
Wow, Kevin, good for you. Amazing. Thank you so much. Joe, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, there's a number to call on your screen. That number is 888-959-2743. What you're calling in for today is a complimentary consultation with Joe and with Kevin. Let them get to know you, your goals, your dreams, and your hopes for retirement. Now, today's show does specifically talk a lot about women's needs in retirement, but this opportunity is open to everyone today to book that complimentary consultation, regardless of your situation. That number, 888-959-2743, or you can click the QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. Take action. Book that consultation today. This is your retirement journey. Your success depends on it, but you have to do one thing. Call in today or click on the QR code. When we come back after this very short commercial break, we have so much more about women's specific needs in retirement. Stay tuned.
I was in Colorado actually pastoring a church. I just felt a disconnect or a lack of peace at the church there, and so I was praying, asking the Lord for direction. So I just felt like He had given me a burden for my dad. He was working 60, 70, 80 hours a week at his age, and I just felt burdened for that, and I wanted to, help him out. So I, approached him about it one week where they were visiting over Thanksgiving, and he says, God didn't tell him that. We laughed, but we prayed about it further, both of us, and we just felt like the Lord was leading that way. So we made the arrangements and moved my family back home to Pennsylvania. And so I was helping my dad out part-time, sort of. But the more I learned the business, the more I understood what he does and what benefit I can have for clients and people's lives. And it was just a calling, like my dad says, it's a calling for him, and I think it's a calling for me. The Lord prepared me for this place, in this time. So I got my license and started selling, and I was successful. I was doing well, and once I got my license, the business kept doubling. So we kept increasing our revenue, our profits, and then helping more clients in the long run.
Welcome back to Midstate Money Talk. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined by Kevin and Joe Deitrich. They are partners at First Choice Financial Services Incorporated. And if you're just tuning in today, just for the very first time, today's show specifically talks about women's needs in retirement. But if you're a man, don't change the channel, because obviously you know a woman somewhere in your life, could be a sister, mother, aunt, grandmother, someone that you love needs this information today. So again, thank you for being with us. Joe and Kevin, I want to ask you a very important question. Obviously, sometimes women can feel quite overwhelmed by financial planning. Where do you begin when you have a situation like that? Because I know that sometimes it feels like you want to come in and sit down and say, talk to me like I'm 5 years old. And that is actually a great way to start when you're trying to learn the ins and outs of financial planning. So how do you handle that, Joe?
Absolutely. A great place to start is actually calling and coming and sitting down, right? The number's on the screen, 888-959-2743, or the QR code. And that's very simple first step. Call, come in, sit down, and we can start the journey. Right, but when we do sit down, what are we going to talk about? Right? We're going to talk about some very practical, actionable steps, from very basic things to start setting the foundation of a successful financial picture in your life. That could be just getting a handle of what your income, your expenses are going to be, setting some actionable goals of setting emergency funds, debt reduction, what is our savings rates, and that once we get a foundation, now we can start build on some more long-term goals with what are those saving rates going to grow into? What can we expect for our income planning? All kinds of things. It kind of branches out from there depending upon their needs, but it all starts with a solid foundation.
Okay.
I think we've said this again before, is eating an elephant, right? One bite at a time. I mean, if you're overwhelmed, the simplest thing to do is to break it down into the first step and take that first step.
Most definitely. The first step is often the hardest, but the most important.
Yeah, call us.
So Kevin, a very important question I have. What are some specific retirement saving strategies that women should focus on? Specific retirement saving strategies?
Yeah, that's a good question. Sometimes it may be important to save more aggressively.
Okay.
Start early. Maximize your retirement contributions into your 401k. Maximize some of the catch-up contributions if you're over age 50. Max out your employer-sponsored plans. If you're able to do that, you can put in, I think, up to around $30,000 into an employer-sponsored plan. That's a lot of money.
It is.
But let's try to max that as much as possible, and we can help you navigate and find that sweet spot on what's the best max contribution. You can also, there are ways to increase your contribution systematically over the years, 1% or 2% at a time, which really you won't feel the impact right away as much as possible, as much as you would if you just went from a 3% increase in contribution up to 10.
Okay.
If you do like a 3 and 4, then next year you do 5 or 6, and then it just, you won't miss it because you're getting raises and you're putting money into your extra money into your 401k as well. So those are ways to help, strategies for women to focus on when as they're approaching retirement.
Okay.
Particularly if we have some budgetary concerns, like we just don't have the money to continue to add more to the savings. So that annual reset with your salary increase and some of it going, that's a great strategy. And HSA is also a great strategy to think about, particularly for women, because you're going to live longer. The healthcare costs, long-term care costs, presumably are going to be larger than a man's. And so also getting those investment funds into your health savings account, if you can, that's growing tax-free. That's triple tax advantage, spending it on Medicare costs or healthcare down the road. And that's another way it's also tax deferred. So you're also getting a salary reduction on that as well. So the HSA account is specifically important for ladies in our life.
Most definitely. And what about catch-up contributions? Is there anything that we should talk about with catch-up contributions specifically if you're over the age of 50?
Yeah, so your catch-up so every year there's difference, right? This year it's 23.5 is your 401k contributions. If you're 50, you can add another $7,500 to that. So now you're $31,000. But that's if you're above 50. So then there's also a special contribution from 60 to 63 that adds some additional funds to that. So you can add, instead of 7,500, 11,250. So now the plan needs to allow for that, and that's being more and more prevalent. But those are all recent changes. The special catch-up contributions, a recent change. But these are things that you want to be looking into your specific situation. And I understand that's a lot of money, and not everybody can fit into that. And that's why Kevin was mentioning the strategy of gradually increasing those. But you need to start early to do that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And how does Social Security play into the role, if you will, for specifically women's retirement goals and dreams?
It plays a huge factor because it would, like Joe mentioned before, and we've mentioned on all of our all of our presentations here, that it makes up 30 or 40% of their income.
Wow.
In retirement. So it's just that foundation piece of their income planning. And then, of course, if they've worked for, in Pennsylvania, mid-state, they have, state, of course, they have the school districts and healthcare industries that may have a pension as well. So, we meet with ladies all the time that work 30, 40 years in the state. And they have a nice Social Security check, they have a nice pension check. So all those play a factor, a good factor in their retirement planning.
Okay.
Making that right Social Security decision can be very important too. I mean, that it's tempting to take that early Social Security check, but because of the longevity risk, the risk of living longer and longer, being able to delay that might be a very good benefit, because we're getting a higher check and we're living longer, so we're maximizing that benefit on our income in the long term. But we need to plan around that, because if you're going to do that, where does the rest of the income come from? Right?
Most definitely. Joe, thank you so much. Kevin, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, as you can see, if you're a woman entering the retirement years and you don't know where to start, pick up the phone, call in today. The number is 888-959-2743. Book that complimentary consultation. There's no obligation whatsoever. And this is your opportunity to really take control of your financial future. Being a woman, you have very special needs in the retirement years, and you deserve to be listened to. You deserve to be heard. So often there's usually one spouse that takes care of the finances, but what if you lose that spouse? What if you wake up one day and you realize, I'm all alone? Where do I turn? What do I do? Doesn't have to be that way. Again, call in 888-959-2743 or click the QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. We're going to take a very short commercial break. When we come back, we have more specific needs that are special to women in retirement. Stay tuned.
According to a recent Transamerica retirement survey, over 1/3 of American workers have already dipped into their retirement savings to handle day-to-day expenses, and nearly 40% have reduced their contributions. For those approaching retirement with significant assets, this may sound like somebody else's problem, but it's a warning worth noting. Economic pressure doesn't discriminate. High net worth individuals are just as vulnerable to reacting emotionally during times of financial stress. The key is discipline and a plan that evolves with the changing circumstances. Having a tax-aware, income-focused, and flexible strategy in place can help you avoid short-term mistakes that impact your long-term goals. Because real success in retirement isn't just about what you've saved, it's how you protect and use it.
Welcome back to Mid-State Money Talk. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Joe and Kevin Deitrich. They are partners at First Choice Financial Services Incorporated. And if you are just tuning into this final segment of the show, welcome to the show. Today's show is talking about specific needs that women have in retirement, and we are uncovering some steps that we can take to be proactive. So, Kevin, I want to ask you a question. There is a new retirement reality. Can you share what is meant by that? The new retirement reality, what does it look like?
Yeah, I mean, retirement is no longer like all or nothing.
Okay.
A lot of folks are working part-time, even in retirement, not necessarily because they have to, but because they want to. They want to keep active. They want to still enjoy that, and especially women. It's not savings, or it's not the money. It's more like for meaning. It's they want to have some meaning in their life. And also the reality, the new retirement reality, is that women are often taking care of their adult parents.
Absolutely.
Or even some of their adult children financially.
Yes, that can happen.
We all experience that. Student loans, housing, financial dependency that is becoming more prevalent with our adult children.
Yes.
So women are maybe having to work and just have that extra income coming in to be able to help out their loved ones, not because necessarily they need to, or because they want to.
Of course.
Yeah,
it's scary because when you're putting others first, it's the right thing to do. You love serving others. You love taking care of other people, but your retirement can actually suffer by putting others first, correct, Joe?
Absolutely. Yeah, healthy boundaries is really, really important. And it can be a strain. And I understand the temptation. Let me give you kind of contrast two clients, right? These are our actual clients. And in one situation, she has been strapped with some Parent Plus loans, and we've taken that on, and it's something that we've got to deal with through her retirement plan, and it's a challenge. In another situation where, with some education and counseling, we determined that they were not going to take that route, and yes, it's the student's loan that they're taking, but the parent now has the flexibility to be able to support, and the money could still go there. You could certainly still gift that money to your child, right?
Okay.
But you're not taking that on. It's not a burden to the retiree, to the client. So choosing how you put some boundaries around you and your loved ones can be a difficult conversation, but it can be a very important conversation and can be vital to the health of your retirement. So the only really way to be able to find out what those boundaries look like is for you to have a customized retirement plan that you can work off of. Do you understand what those boundaries are? So, and the best way to do that is to give us a call at 888-959-2743. Click the QR code on there. Go to our website, but reach out and get that customized plan so you know exactly where you need to set those boundaries.
Makes perfect sense. And honestly, financial conversations, they can be a little bit difficult to have. So let's talk a little bit about how to have them, because so often it's really hard to peel back that onion, if you will, and really dive in. So let's talk about that. How do you have those conversations? We have about 3 minutes left.
I think as humans, we have difficulty having those hard conversations with our spouses, with our kids, especially our kids, because it shows some vulnerability.
It's true.
And so, but it's so important as adults, as parents, that we have adult conversations with our adult children about inheritance, expectations. We have to not avoid those money talks, to have clear communication. We encourage that with our clients. We encourage that in our family business as well. Teaching financial literacy to prevent future dependency to our kids is so important. Young, and sometimes you have to do that when they're older because you never taught them when they were younger, or maybe they haven't learned the lessons yet as they get older. So those hard conversations are hard, but we cannot avoid them because it just makes our life even harder as we age and as we are in our end of the life.
Yeah, those burdens aren't going to go away. You're going to pass those burdens at the inheritance isn't going to be there. The debt's going to then pass on. It's an entire situation. You need to have that conversation, have it head on, transparency in a loving way.
In a loving way, absolutely.
There you go.
So obviously there's a lot of people in the viewing audience today. They're wondering, where do they even start? What is the first step? How do they get the process going? Kevin, Joe, what are your thoughts on that? Where do they begin? Kevin, I'll start with you.
To pick up the phone, as we mentioned time and time again. Call 1-888-959-2743. Click the QR code if you have a smartphone, but pick up the phone. That's the first step. You have to start somewhere.
Yes.
The first step is just pick up the phone or click on the QR code, whatever you feel is necessary, and call 888-959-2743. Give us a call.
Yep, it's a complimentary plan. It's customized to them, right?
Yep, it is.
And Joe, if someone's on the fence, I'm sorry, Kevin, and they're nervous, they're unsure to pick up the phone, your thoughts to that person who's right there leaning in but not quite picking
You said it best earlier. The first step is the hardest, right?
Yes.
Take that step. It's not as scary as you think. It's a complimentary, there's no cost to you, complimentary appointment. We're going to get a customized plan that you can work off of, and you're going to get the education and the full view of your picture. You're going to have such confidence moving into your retirement years that you probably won't believe it.
No one's ever regretted calling our office.
I'm sure that is true.
They usually walk away and say, I'm so glad I called you.
Hear it all the time.
I wish I would have called you years ago.
Because you provide such amazing peace of mind. Kevin, thank you so much. Joe, thank you so much. To our viewers at home in the viewing audience, this is your opportunity to take action today. And as we mentioned, the first step is often the hardest, but it doesn't need to be. This is painless and complimentary. 888-959-2743. 888-959-2743. We've made it even simpler. Grab your smartphone, click on the QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We'll see you back 1 week from today on Mid-State Money Talk. Take care now. We'll see you soon.